And one of the interesting conversations I had with one of these tycoons, he said that, I spent so much of my life building what I have today, but unfortunately, I'm now sick and I'm spending so much money trying to get well again. That's really sad. I call it 3 thankful thoughts. I wish I knew this much earlier in my life. I mean, I had to unfortunately go through a few things first. In 2013, I actually had to go for a heart procedure, a stent actually, was put into my heart. And that really made me think and reflect. Probably that was the beginning of what started me onto this journey to this 3 thankful thoughts.
Hi, welcome everybody to another episode of Habits Talk. Today I have with me a very special guest, Gordon Tan from Singapore. Right, welcome Gordon.
Hi.
Maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us more about what you have been doing in the last 20, 30 years and what you're focusing on in the recent years and recent months.
Well, I just celebrated my 60th birthday.
Hey,
and
happy
that's
birthday.
Interesting. Which interestingly means that I've invested about half my 60 years in an area called investment advisory. And it's interesting because in this first 32 years of my life, it was a lot about how I can interact with other people, how to give investment advice, and so on and so forth. But somewhere in 2016, I decided to change my mind, and I actually made a career switch, and I became a counsellor coach. And it was during this time that I did my master's in counseling, and it kind of reset or made a kind of 90-degree turn in my career to do something quite different. And I guess doing that actually led us to something that I'm told we're going to talk about today.
That's a very interesting path you have taken. But 30 over years in investment advisory.
Yes,
right?
Investment advisory.
And I think you're a very humble person. You have not shared how illustrious those 30 years were. You have been the lead, you have been the managing director of some of the big investment advisory companies in this part of the world. But in 2016, you said about when you're in the mid-50s, you decided to give all that up and move into the area of counseling and coaching.
That's correct. And it's very interesting because whilst I was at the big banks, big names like banks like JP Morgan, Swiss banks like Julius Baer, and it was about helping people, but really I saw that as helping people being successful in managing wealth. But I think there was something missing somewhere in that whole aspect. And I think it was about things about well-being. Happiness, well-being, and healthfulness, I think.
Basically, you began to look at success in life in a more holistic perspective.
Yes, I think we could say that.
Not just financially, not just career, but in every sense of the word. Right?
Yes,
so which led you to a journey of learning and going to this area of counseling and coaching. And that led us to how we met, I think last year, right? Yeah. We both went for this thing called the Gallup Strengths Finder accelerated coaching course. Coincidentally, both of us are now certified Gallup strength coach. Right? You from the investment advisory sector, and right now also a strength coach. I, a medical doctor, and also now a strength coach. And then that's where we share this common interest in better understanding how we can engage, encourage people to look at success in life in a very holistic manner, not just in career, in health, but in the very broad and comprehensive sense and definition of the word.
Right? Actually, I wanted to say something here, and that's quite interesting because in my work as a banker, I would actually help clients who are actually tycoons. So they are multi-millionaire, closer to billionaires. And one of the interesting conversations I had with one of these tycoons, he said that, I spent so much of my life, and I think he was in the late 60s, early 70s. He said, I've spent so much of my life building what I have today. But unfortunately, I'm now sick. And I'm spending so much money trying to get well again. That's really sad. And with that in mind, I actually wanted to do something very different.
I think we share that common goal here, which is why in these last 5 years of my medical career, I've been focused on a lot on getting people to look at their habits. You know, the habits that will not just prevent, but also control, combat, and even reverse some of the chronic diseases that they have. And often this has to start very much earlier in their life journey. Not only when you're 40s, 50s, or 60s, when you start to develop diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, or you start to be told that on health screening you got some blockage in your arteries, but much earlier in their 30s, because chronic diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular diseases, they actually 15, 20 years in the making, in the cooking, you know. So,
Yes.
you know, it's so sad. So many of my patients, they are very successful people, but they have lost their health. And that made me go on this journey of wanting to engage people, encourage, educate, and coach them to begin to build up, learn, jumpstart habits, you know, in whatever age they are willing to begin, you know, preferably in their 30s. Habits that will lead them not just to success, you know, in life, but also lead them to have better health in the later years of their life. What's the value of success in your career when there's no health?
Because you can't enjoy it.
Yeah. No, and it's also, on the other hand, conversely, it's difficult to be able to fully, you know, realize your potential in your career if you do not have good health.
That's true.
So I think that two, they are very intertwined. Or would you agree? That's two are very intertwined. I think
Absolutely.
both of us are coming at it from, you know, this whole spectrum, this whole ecosystem, right, of what it means to be successful in life. It has to do not just with career, not just with health, not just with happiness, well-being, social, family. I think everything is intertwined. You mentioned something to me recently, and then when we had conversation, which is why I wanted to invite you onto my show, this
Thank you.
Habits Talk, right? To share with us something that you have been practicing and jump-starting in the last 1 year, last 9 months or so. This habit that you have been trying to jump-start, which I thought was so interesting and so relevant in this thing we're talking about.
It's interesting. I call it 3 thankful thoughts. So
Thankful thoughts.
Three thankful thoughts. And I wish I knew this much earlier in my life. I mean, I had to unfortunately go through a few things. First, having problems with sleep because of my job as in investments, because of managing people, the stress. So sleep was one problem. The other was the effect of stress. The effect of stress made me do a few things which were not really good. And it became habits, actually, unfortunately. One, for example, having chocolates at night as a way to numb, having alcohol as a way to numb, eating when I'm stressed. These are habits, unfortunately, that are difficult to shed.
They were your coping mechanism to the stress
of the job. And unfortunately, in 2013, I actually had to go for a heart procedure, a stent actually, was put into my heart. And that really made me think and reflect. And probably that was the beginning of what started me onto this journey to leave my banking job and go into coaching and counseling. And so coming back to 3 thankful thoughts. The 3 thankful thoughts is something I learned. It was called a different thing, but I've expanded it over time. The 3 thankful thoughts are, if you can do this in the night, at the end of your day, to recollect what happened in your day, and then think about what you can be thankful for in that day itself. So, in fact, I've even used this for several of my counseling clients and some of my coaching clients, and it's proven to be useful. There's even a body of research that has been done by universities around the world, namely University of Penn, North Carolina, which showed that doing this actually has a very positive effect on the way you think about yourself and your life. So I think that is this 3 thankful thoughts. Let me explain.
How do you do it? You mentioned that you started doing this about 9 months, about a year ago, right? Tell us from the beginning, you know, what did you do? Give us the specifics, you know, the real thing, you know, about what exactly did you make yourself do, you know, maybe 9 months ago?
Sure. So I was reading a book or rather, I was attending a course by Martin Seligman. Martin Seligman, by the way, is considered the father of positive psychology, and he suggested that at the end of each day, that you should do three thoughts, three good things, and name them. So you have to name them what they were. And so I adopted that. And as I started practicing it, the good things expanded. And around about this time, I also started doing exercises in gratitude.
Yeah.
And then combining the two resulted in my three thankful thoughts. And what can we really be thankful for? I think at the end of each day, we can choose to focus on things we did badly, things that make us worry, or things that make us very anxious as we go to sleep. Or we could turn it around and think about what's there so good about today, you know?
Yep.
And I kind of listed 7 things that you could be thankful for. First, you can look at yourself and say, oh, wow, what did Gordon do today? And give yourself a pat back. Or what good things that made Gordon feel as he did those things. For example, like charity, helping someone. And then there's some things like, what others did for you. Like, oh, wow, someone actually gave me something today. Or like, during my birthday, I found so much happiness just thinking about the number of friends I have. So that could be it. Or some of us could just wake up and say, oh, it's a beautiful day today. The sun's shining outside and so on and so forth. So those are just 3 of about 7 different things that we think about and be thankful for each day. And interestingly, actually it's not easy. When
you actually write it down, or you just sit and have a quiet time and meditate over it quietly on your own, or do you actually write it down in a journal or something?
It's interesting that you asked that question, because I think like many of us, it's just you tell yourself, oh, it's just easier just to think like, it's okay, what's wrong with it? Just think about it. But actually the effect of writing it down, of noting it down, has a deep embedding effect in your mind. It kind of changes maybe the neurons in your brain.
It's like some kind of translation of a thought to actualizing it into a commitment.
I think
right?
So.
The commitment into a reality. It's almost very cathartic. It's like I actually writing it down. It's just not a fleeting thought that's floating around in my mind. Yeah.
In fact, I like the word that you use, very cathartic.
Yep.
As you pen it down and you look at the words that you're writing it down, it kind of reinforces what you think. And actually, I hate to use the word concretize, but it builds into your mind. Yeah.
And you started doing that. All right. So that was about 9 months ago. How has that been? What is it now? Now, what is it now? Was it a passing fad? Often when in our career, we attend many self-improvement, executive improvement training kind of courses, and after that, there's an initial enthusiasm to use certain framework, to do certain things, but that would last maybe for a few months. All right.
But you're right.
This stick with you. This 3 thankful thoughts, 9 months after you started it, has it become you?
No, not initially. I think I did it for maybe 3 days at the very beginning, and it kind of stopped. And then I said, okay, maybe I should try it again, because as I started researching it, so you need to do it for at least 2 weeks. So okay, I tried. But by the 5th or 6th day, I'm kind of giving up. It's tough. After a while, you can't think of new things to do.
And you feel a bit contrived,
Exactly. It is very contrived. It can feel very contrived. And then I started recommending it to my clients.
Okay.
And then as a counselor, you cannot recommend something to a client and then not do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
So
I can see myself in you. I mean, just like when I teach my patients, certain dietary habits change I want them to make. To me, it's just not right. And I'm not doing my job. If I tell them to do something, encourage them to do something, which I am not trying to do myself. All right. So in the same way, like you said, when you started not just practicing it, you started promoting, preaching it, prescribing it to the people you counsel. Right. That has an impact on you in trying harder, even though you were beginning to lose steam in the beginning. Right.
Correct. And the more I talk about it to other people, the more convinced I am.
Okay.
And it became more of a habit.
Okay. So right now, fast forward 9 months after you first tried to jumpstart this practice of writing down, thinking about, at the end of each day, 3 thankful thoughts, right? In the course of, on the average 7 days in a week right now, how many of those 7 days would you actually set aside time to practice these 3 thankful thoughts?
I think if I were to be very realistic and sit down and think about my day, I'm like, oh, not every day ends the same way.
Yep.
Some days you're so tired you just fall asleep. You don't even have a chance to think.
Yep.
Some days you're so excited, you say, so fun to wonderful day, and then it's very easy for you to write something.
Yep.
And those are the days, those are so-called the good days. And I kind of find about 3, maybe 4 days a week that can happen. But sometimes you're distracted. Oh, there's a TV going on, nice drama series going on. You follow and you feel kind of tired and you fall. So I think that consistency, or rather that inconsistency, continues even today.
But I'm glad to hear that as how I've been coaching and teaching my patients and the people I'm helping in acquiring new habits. It actually mirrors the journey that you had. At the beginning, it's just a conscious effort. Right? It's not something you're used to, but something that at least, in your mind, you agree that it is going to be useful. You have not internalized it yet, but you will put it into a routine that you make yourself do at the beginning, and there's some starts and stops, and then you fail, and there's some disruption in momentum. But if you do not give up, after a while, you reach a stage like you have now, almost 3 to 4, almost half the time you will be doing it. And then to me, that more than qualify, more than enough, more than qualify as a habit, right? Because it's something that's part of you right now. It's part of you right now. And tell me, in these 9 months, what are the benefits of this habit that you have? This, let's call it the 3 thankful thoughts habit. Right? 3 thankful thoughts habit. How has it impacted you? In any real way?
So I'm going to put it in 3 spheres. First, myself.
Okay.
I think it's made me more optimistic. It certainly has made me more optimistic. I can see the good things in other people, in my situation. I can see the good things in other people, which leads into my second thing, my dealings with other people.
Yep.
And that is, I can begin to appreciate people better, which actually improves relationships.
Yep.
If you think about it.
And then it has a reinforcing cycle into your own personal well-being as well, when your relationship is better with other people.
That's right. And then it comes to the third one, which is how I perceive situations.
Okay.
So even though it's like I can be in a situation that can be struggling or very challenging, because you are looking for the silver lining in all these dark clouds, you actually begin to start to say, oh, it's not that bad after all. I can build resilience out of this. It's not everything so dark and gloomy. And this helps me get up every day, the next day.
No, I think a lot of people tend to compartmentalize well-being into mental well-being, into emotional well-being, financial well-being, physical, medical health well-being. But actually they're all intertwined. Right? Not sure if you are aware, something you mentioned just now, that I think you mentioned in 2013, you had a stent put into your heart arteries, right? That means you didn't have a heart attack.
No.
Right? But actually medical studies have shown and suggested an association between heart attack, after a heart attack, the emotional and mental well-being of the patient, right, has a significant impact onto their prognosis after the heart attack. That means after a heart attack, people tend to be depressed. And if they cannot snap out of that, you will actually directly, indirectly, and over a period of time will be associated with a worse outcome. Right? Than people who had the counseling support, who have the social support, right? These people would have a better outcome. And all things being equal, that means a more positive person, right, after a heart attack might possibly embark on making changes to his or her lifestyle, eating healthier, exercise and things like that. That aside, even when we equalize all things, a person after a heart attack, if they have, they're happier, they are more positive, they would have a better outcome. And in fact, that actually extends to many other chronic diseases. Because like you mentioned just now, you alluded to, happiness, contentment, it's a way of managing stress. Stress has a direct, indirect impact on your sleep, has a direct, indirect impact on your eating patterns and stress in itself. And therefore, all this come together, has direct and indirect, but overall significant impact on chronic diseases risk, like diabetes, like heart diseases, hypertension. So I think what you have highlighted, what you have suggested in these 3 thankful thoughts habit, I would actually not see it, just as this happiness, wellness kind of tool. I would say that it is something bigger than that. I think I just might practice it myself, and maybe I give you an update in a few months' time, and whether that has stuck with me as a habit, And I often define a habit as something that we do instinctively, instinctively, and we actually miss it if we don't find the time to do it. So I will give you an update in a few months' time.
Nice.
Right?
Actually, on that point, as you were talking, it made me think how I wish I had learned this a long time ago. Let's say in my teenage years.
Yeah.
Because the reverse is true now. So my bad habits from dealing with stress continues.
Yep.
And so I get interrupted sleep still. Like I will wake up at 4 a.m. because I've been waking up at that kind of time for a long part of my life. Or I still crave food when you
are eating when you shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be, correct. So the old habits die hard. I think that's one thing. New bad habits are difficult to implement, but if it gets stuck, so-called, in your life, I think it has a very long-term effect. Very, very long-term effect. And then, I when we were discussing about habits, I was like, aha, doctor knows what he's talking about.
Because in my experience, helping my patients and all, habits are like a group of friends. The bad habits come together, like a group of bad company, right? And good habits that you start, often will lead you to begin to address other bad habits that you did not initially set off to change. All right, and you are either on a vicious cycle or you're on a virtuous cycle.
Yes, I agree.
All right, so and myself, just like you, how I wish I have paid more attention to my habits, much younger, much younger. At least starting from no later than my 30s, and no later than my 30s. I must confess, I have blogged about it. I have shared it openly whenever I give public talks and sharing. Although I'm a medical doctor, right? I do, and in the course of seeing patients all these years, all these tens of years, right? I graduated from medical school 20 almost 30 years ago. All right, but for most part of my 30 years as a doctor, I often would tell my patients to eat healthier, exercise, and do all the right things. But I must confess, I was not exactly doing them myself.
I can only understand that.
Until about 4 or 5 years ago, a series of events that came together, and I began to, put as my purpose, put it as my current calling, to really awaken people, to this impact, this power of habits in their life.
And I think that's what impressed me about you.
Heard me share before, and when we attended the course together, right? So, and the same thing like you, it has been a blessing to me. Not only am I doing it professionally, it is something that preoccupies me, but it has also blessed me because I do not want to preach something that I do not practice myself. I will not be able to prescribe and help a person, go on a journey of habits change if I have not gone through the journey myself.
Mm.
So I totally understand when someone pushed back to me, doctor, I've been having this habit of eating this or not eating this for the last 20, 30 years. No, it's so difficult, right? I would totally empathize with the person, but I would at the same time tell the person that any kind of change is always going to be difficult at the beginning.
Mm, mm.
All right.
Actually, I must tell you something very interesting,
Yep.
because during this COVID circuit breaker time,
Yep.
we cook a lot of meat at home, so
Yep.
we have a lot of one-dish meals. And unfortunately, a lot of one-dish meals are carb-heavy
Yep. Okay.
and not plant-strong.
Okay.
After about 2 weeks of time, I'm feeling really out of whack with myself.
Yep.
Because prior to this COVID thing, after attending your talk, I was
Okay.
like, I must be more plant-strong.
Okay.
I think the body actually just starts to adjust to it.
Yep.
Yeah, you will miss it.
You'll
Or
miss
at least
it.
I missed it.
No,
Yeah.
I'm glad, after attending one of my talks, I remember, at least right now, although we've a little bit delayed, right, it has begun to have an impact to begin to explore. I mean, it's a journey. It's a journey, right? It's a journey changing our, this very hardwired, habits, right, that we have acquired in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Nobody should be under any illusion that it's going to be easy.
Yeah,
but I must say that it is going to be destiny changing. It's impactful.
Yeah.
And yet it's going to be, after the initial period, you'll become easy and enjoyable. Right? It becomes something that you miss if you don't do it. So that's what I do not just promote, preach, but I actively train my patients to go through a very a stepwise process of this change process of acquiring new habits.
I was just about to say that I think the body, your natural body, knows what's good.
Yep.
And for example, like you suggested, plant strong, the body actually feels it when the reverse is happening. Likewise, like exercise, if you don't exercise for after exercising for a long time, you actually feel the need, the urge to do it, because the body says, I need something good.
Yeah. So the initial part, initial part, you have to force yourself to do it.
Yeah.
And then once it has turned the corner and has become a habit, right? Sometimes without you knowing, initially you say, okay, I need to put on my walking shoes and go for a walk, because that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I need to practice. But after a while, right, for whatever reasons, and life takes over, and you begin not to find time for the morning walks or the evening walks. And after a while, you actually, hey, I miss walking. I miss walking, and it's easy to go back to it because, you know how to, you enjoy it, and it has become part of you, right? Yeah. So it's interesting. You can see up here, like in everything, give thanks. It's not something that I put up there, just because I know these 3 thankful thoughts was the topic that you're going to share. But it's something that resonates with me, and this carving up there has been with me for a long time. I bring it everywhere I go. And this used to be in the restaurant that I run. This was right up there in my restaurant. I have this in everything, give thanks. And ever since I closed my restaurant more than a year ago, right? This is where I put this now to remind myself every single time. In everything, give thanks. And that is not just going to make us a happier person. I would dare say it will make us a healthier person, and also a more successful person.
I'll say yes to that.
Yeah?
I'll confirm that.
So perhaps we should have a follow-up chat. 3 months, and let's make a date. 3 months from now, right? Sure. We have a follow-up chat, right? I will commit to you that I, even without fully understanding or even experiencing or seeing how powerful these 3 thankful thoughts habits can be, prior to this conversation, I shall take a leap of faith, right? If Gordon says so, I will believe so, and that's only good, right? There's no harm. The worst that can happen, the worst that can happen is nothing happen.
Yes.
All right. But it just might, begin, to become a very powerful habit, right? That has, multi-dimensional positive impact on my being, my well-being, physical, mental, social, and even work. The 3 thankful thoughts habits, right?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dr. Chan. I am a practicing medical doctor from Singapore. I spend a lot of my time conducting workshops in lifestyle and eating habits modification for a period of 5 years. I was also the full-time head chef at the restaurant that I use as a living classroom to encourage people to modify their lifestyle and eating habits to combat lifestyle-related chronic diseases. Let habits be thy medicine.